Sexual harassment accusations hit home for the White House on Friday as allegations against the president resurfaced in the wake of his finger-pointing at Senator Al Franken. 16 women accused Trump of inappropriate behavior during last year's presidential campaign, only to have their stories challenged by the former reality TV star and real estate mogul. Summer Zervos, a former Apprentice contestant, is battling Trump in court. Late Thursday evening, Trump blasted Minnesota Democrat Al Franken on Twitter for a photo of the ex-comedian appearing to grope a woman's breasts and inadvertently put the spotlight on his own behavior. Sexual harassment charges against President Donald Trump came back in the foreground Friday after he tweeted about Democratic Senator Al Franken's groping. At her press briefing Friday, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders told a reporter comparing the two, "Senator Franken has admitted wrongdoing, and the president hasn't. I think that's a very clear distinction." She also claimed that the allegations against Trump were addressed pretty extensively during the campaign, so a rehash is unnecessary. "The American people, I think, spoke very loud and clear when they elected this president," she said. Sanders didn't say why Trump hasn't followed through on a campaign threat to sue his accusers. "I haven't asked him that question. I'd have to ask him and let you know why he hasn't chosen to take that path," she said. She also faced question after question about why Trump hasn't personally taken on Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore, who is accused of groping and kissing a number of women he went on dates when they were teenagers, as well as sexually touching a girl who says she was just 14 at the time in 1979. Trump hasn't spoken publicly about Moore and has ignored shouted questions about him, even as other GOP leaders have called on him to step aside. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders speaks during the daily briefing in the Brady briefing room of the White House on November 17, 2017. The president dubbed the senator Al Frankenstein in a series of tweets, which also accused him of being a hypocrite for lecturing anyone who would listen about sexual harassment and respect for women. He has weighed in on Roy Moore. "He did it while he was on a foreign trip in Asia. I did it repeatedly yesterday. In fact, I took about 15 questions on that topic and only one on Al Franken. So to suggest that this White House and, specifically, that this president hasn't weighed in is just inaccurate and wrong. He weighed in," he said. "If the allegations are true, he should step aside," Sanders said on the president's behalf. Trump has not weighed in directly on Moore, despite Sanders' claims. It was Sanders who first offered a statement at the behest of the president during his foreign trip. Sanders told reporters a week ago on Friday that the president believes that we cannot allow a mere allegation in this case, one from many years ago, to destroy a person's life. She said Trump also believes that if these allegations are true, Judge Moore will do the right thing and step aside, putting off further comment on the matter until the conclusion of the five-nation trip. Trump also declined to comment on the controversy while he was overseas, claiming ignorance. "I've been with you folks, so I haven't gotten to see too much," Trump said. "So I have not seen very much about him, about it. And, you know, I put out a statement yesterday that he'll do the right thing." The president ducked questions about Moore on Thursday as he dashed across town for a caucus meeting on Capitol Hill. He left a speech Thursday, a recap of his trip to Asia, without taking questions, as well. Sanders said later that day, during her first televised briefing since Trump returned from his extensive travels in Asia, the president believes that these allegations are very troubling and should be taken seriously, and he thinks that the people of Alabama should make the decision on who their next senator should be. The president's position is the same as it when she delivered a statement to press last Friday on his behalf, she said. "If the allegations are true, then that Roy Moore should step aside. He still firmly believes that," the White House spokeswoman said. President Donald Trump poses with members of the University of Washington women's rowing team on the south lawn of the White House during an event honoring NCAA national championship teams on November 17, 2017 in Washington, D.C. Late Thursday evening, after all of the Moore dodging, Trump decided to weigh in on the Franken scandal via Twitter. "The Al Frankenstein picture is really bad, speaks 1,000 words. Where do his hands go in pictures 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 while she sleeps? The tweet came hours after Franken apologized after being accused of groping former Playboy model Leanne Tweeden during 2006 USO trip. Tweeden said hours earlier on Good Morning America that she had to endure being with him for almost 2 weeks after he stuck his tongue in my mouth as Franken allegedly mocked her with one passive-aggressive gesture after another. Trump's tweet put the White House on the defensive over the charges that 16 women have lodged against the president. As a private citizen, the president himself boasted about how his celebrity gave him the ability to grab women with impunity on the infamous Access Hollywood tape. Trump said he would grab them by the pee. Then he added, "When you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything." Related articles previous. 1 Next. Democratic candidate for Ohio governor gets ahead of Fox's sexual harassment central, Joy Beer rips into. Share this article. Share script dm.later, bundle, function, if, dm.rotator, new dm.rotator, p28, page size, 1, page count, 1.0, active class, active, rotate, false, $, number p28.share, .on, click, function, dms.facebook.post tofp, related. Then candidate Trump dismissed the comments as locker room talk and went on to win the presidency. A flood of women came forward after the release of the tape with accusations about Trump. One of them, Zervos, was a contestant on season 5 of The Apprentice. She says Trump groped and kissed her in his room at the Beverly Hills Hotel back in 2007. She says she met Trump about a business opportunity and she kissed her and placed his hand on her breast without consent. She also claims that she reached out to Trump a year after she left the show to speak about possible business opportunities, and when she met with him he kissed her open-mouthed multiple times, and at one point placed his hand on her breast and thrusting himself at her. Summer Zervos, a former candidate on The Apprentice Season 5, who is accusing Donald Trump of inappropriate sexual conduct, speaks to the press with her attorney Gloria Allred October 14, 2016 in Los Angeles, California. Radio host Leanne Tweeden said Friday that an infamous photo of now Senator Al Franken groping her aboard a military plane after a 2006 USO tour was no joke, but a purposeful in-your-face gesture from Franken after she endured nearly 2 weeks of humiliation from him. Franken groped Tweeden while she slept on a military transport plane, pictured, and forcibly kissed her backstage during a 2006 USO Goodwill tour. She now says this photo was meant to send her a message that he had power over her. She is suing Trump for defamation for claiming she lied. She is being represented by attorney Gloria Allred, who also represents a woman who has accused more of misconduct. Trump has blasted her account as totally fake news. Jessica Leeds claims Trump tried to kiss and fondle her during an airline flight in 1980 when she was 38. She said Trump began touching her when they were seated together in first class. He was like an octopus, she told the New York Times. His hands were everywhere. Now, she is complaining that he has been able to avoid being held to account, even as other powerful men lose their jobs over past misconduct. Things just seem to fall off of Trump. I'm extremely disappointed, she told People magazine. Makeup artist Jill Harth accused Trump of attempted rape in a 1993 incident. He pushed me up against the wall, and had his hands all over me and tried to get up my dress again, she told The Guardian newspaper. I had to physically say, "What are you doing? Stop it." Asked Friday whether the conversation about sexual assault was an uncomfortable one for this White House, Sanders said without missing a beat, "I think it's an uncomfortable conversation for the country. I think that this is something that is being discussed pretty widely, and we certainly think that it should be taken very seriously. And it's one of the reasons I stand up here and answer your questions every day, and will continue to do so and continue to address them. Obviously, it's something that should be looked at, and I think it should be looked at widespread not just in the political sphere, but in the business atmosphere and across the board in this country. And it's something we certainly again take seriously," Sanders replied. Timeline: when Donald Trump has been accused of assault, groping or lewd behavior. 1980, Jessica Leeds. Jessica Leeds, a 74-year-old former businesswoman who lives in Manhattan, told the New York Times on Wednesday she was assaulted by Trump on a flight when she was 38. Leeds explained how she was sat beside Trump in first class on a flight, when the Republican nominee lifted the armrest between them and allegedly began touching her. He was like an octopus, she told the Times. His hands were everywhere. 1989, Ivana Trump. The Donald's first wife claimed she was violated by him after a violent attack, documents filed as part of the couple's divorce claimed, according to the Daily Beast. Ivana distanced herself from the claims last year when Trump started his campaign. Early 1990s, Kristen Anderson. Kristen Anderson. Kristen Anderson was out with friends, chatting up a storm at a Manhattan night spot, when she felt fingers creep up her miniskirt, slide up her inner thigh and then touch her vagina through her panties. The man who touched her was none other than Donald Trump, Anderson, now 46, told the Washington Post. She said the incident took place in the early 1990s, when she was in her early 20s and an aspiring model. 1993, Jill Harth. Jill Harth. Jill Harth, a makeup artist, accused Trump of attempted rape stemming from an incident in 1993. Harth told The Guardian the incident in question took place during a visit to Trump's Mar-a-Lago mansion in January of that year. He pushed me up against the wall, and had his hands all over me and tried to get up my dress again, she told the newspaper. I had to physically say, "What are you doing? Stop it." 1993, Vendela Kirspom. Vendela Kirspom. Former supermodel Vendela Kirspom exclusively told DailyMail.com that Donald Trump's vulgar and sexist remarks about the size of women's breasts forced her to switch tables at a White House dinner party. The Sports Illustrated cover model claims her night at a 1993 Vanity Fair event was ruined because she was sat next to the billionaire. Recalling the excruciating night, Kirspom, 49, said, "Everything he said was so vulgar. I couldn't listen to his nonsense for an entire night, so I asked if I could be moved." 1996, Lisa Boyne. Lisa Boyne. Lisa Boyne, CEO of a health food company, claims that in the summer of 1996 she saw Trump make a series of women walk up and down a restaurant table so that he could announce whether they were wearing underwear. "It was the most offensive scene I've ever been a part of," she told the Huffington Post Thursday. "I wanted to get the heck out of there." According to Boyne, she and friend Sonia Tremont, better known today as Sonia Morgan of Real Housewives of New York, had been invited to dinner in Manhattan with Trump and late modeling agent John Casablancas. 1997, 4 Miss Teen USA contestants. Mariah Bilodeau and 3 other contestants claimed to BuzzFeed that Trump walked into dressing rooms prior to the pageant while competitors were naked. "I remember putting on my dress really quick because I was like, oh my god, there's a man in here." Bilodeau told the website, before adding Trump said something like, "Don't worry, ladies, I've seen it all before." 1997, Miss USA contestant Temple Taggart. Temple Taggart, a former Miss Utah, told the New York Times earlier this year that Trump kissed her on the lips during the pageant. "I thought, oh my god, gross. I think there were a few other girls that he kissed on the mouth. I was like, wow, that's inappropriate," she told the newspaper. Taggart has also sat down for an interview with NBC News. "When I first heard the leaked tape, it's very unsettling. You don't want to hear anyone talking about women like that," she said in a promotion clip for the interview. 1997, Kathy Heller. Kathy Heller, now 63, claims the billionaire kissed her on the mouth without her consent in 1997 while she attended a Mother's Day luncheon with her family at Trump's Mar-a-Lago Club in Palm Beach, Florida. She told The Guardian on Saturday, "He took my hand, and grabbed me, and went for the lips," she said. She claims she held back but he persevered. "And he said, 'Oh, come on. He was strong. He grabbed me and went for my mouth and went for my lips. Trump denied the accusation, claiming she was motivated by a personal vendetta to have her family's membership fees reimbursed. 2000, Miss USA contestant Bridget Sullivan. Bridget Sullivan told BuzzFeed earlier this year that the then owner of the pageant walked through the backstage area to wish contestants good luck, despite the fact many of them were naked at the time. The time that he walked through the dressing rooms was really shocking. "We were all naked," Sullivan said. She went on to describe Trump as a creepy uncle, saying he would hug you just a little low on your back. BuzzFeed spoke with 4 other contestants from that year, none whom remembered Trump walking through the dressing room when contestants were naked. 2001, Miss USA contestant Tasha Dixon. Tasha Dixon told CBS News earlier this year walked into the changing rooms at the pageant without warning, meaning many of the competitors were naked or not fully dressed. "Our first introduction to him was when we were at the dress rehearsal and half-naked changing into our bikinis," Dixon said in an interview. "He just came strolling right in. There was no second to put a robe on or any sort of clothing or anything. Some girls were topless. Other girls were naked." 2003, Mindy McGillivray. Mindy McGillivray, 36, told the Palm Beach Post that Trump grabbed her backside after she helped a photographer who was covering a concert at Trump's Mar-a-Lago mansion. McGillivray, who was 23 at the time, said she was with Ken Davidoff at the Mar-a-Lago on January 24, 2003. "All of a sudden I felt a grab, a little nudge. I think it's Ken's camera bag, that was my first instinct," she told the newspaper. "I turn around and there's Donald. He sort of looked away quickly." 2004, Trump discussed what he thought it would be like to have sex with a teenage Lindsay Lohan on the Howard Stern show. "She's probably deeply troubled and therefore great in bed," Trump told Stern when asked by the shock jock if he could imagine bedding troubled teen Lindsay Lohan. Trump went on to say, "How come the deeply troubled women, you know, deeply troubled, they're always the best in bed?" At the time of the interview, Lohan was just 18 years old. Trump was 58. The conversation continued with Trump speaking about a friend he described as a great playboy and who he said only wants to date crazy women. 2005, Rachel Crooks. Rachel Crooks was a 22-year-old working as a receptionist at Bayrock Group, a real estate company based in Trump Tower in Manhattan, when she says Trump kissed her on the mouth without permission while in an elevator in 2005. "It was so inappropriate," Ms. Crooks told the New York Times. "I was so upset that he thought I was so insignificant that he could do that." Crooks told the newspaper the incident took place after she shook hands with Trump in an elevator and he allegedly refused to let go. She says he then began kissing her on the cheeks, before then kissing her lips. 2005, Donald Trump admits he would inspect pageant contestants backstage. Donald Trump bragged about the extra power he had during an interview with Howard Stern in April 2005, the tapes of which have been released by CNN. "I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show and everyone's getting dressed," Trump said about the pageant. "No men are anywhere, and I'm allowed to go in, because I'm the owner of the pageant and therefore I'm inspecting it. Is everyone okay? You know, they're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women, and so I sort of get away with things like that." 2005, Trump brags about being able to grope women without consent to Billy Bush on the set of Access Hollywood. "You know I'm automatically attracted to beautiful, I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait," he was heard saying to Billy Bush on the set of Access Hollywood in 2005 in a recording published by The Washington Post last Friday. "And when you're a star they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the pee. You can do anything." 2005, Natasha Stoyanov. Natasha Stoyanov recounted how she had traveled to Mar-a-Lago to interview Trump and his wife, Melania, in December 2005. She said Donald took her into a room he really wanted to see, before forcing himself on her. We walked into that room alone, and Trump shut the door behind us. I turned around, and within seconds, he was pushing me against the wall, and forcing his tongue down my throat, she wrote for People. Stoyanov went on to say how she was rescued when a butler walked in. However, when the two were alone again shortly after, Trump told her they were going to have an affair. 2007, Summer Zervos, contestant on The Apprentice. Summer Zervos, who was a contestant on the 5th season of The Apprentice, said Trump groped and kissed her in his room at the Beverly Hills Hotel in 2007. She claims that she reached out to Trump a year after she left the show to speak about possible business opportunities, and when she met with him he kissed her open-mouthed multiple times, and at one point placed his hand on her breast. She claims he then had her lie in bed with him, she said, telling her he wanted to watch telly, but soon after began thrusting his genitals at her despite her pleas asking him to stop. Zervos broke down in tears throughout press conference, saying at one point, "You do not have the right to treat women as sexual objects just because you are a star." 2009, called Khloe Kardashian a fat piglet. Trump made rude and offensive comments about Khloe Kardashian's physical appearance and weight while she filmed Celebrity Apprentice back in 2009, according to multiple people who worked on the set. He said, "Why don't we fire Khloe? She is a fat piglet. Why did we get the ugly Kardashian?" a source told Huffington Post. 2010, friend of CNN anchor Erin Burnett. Erin Burnett detailed an encounter that a friend had with Trump in March 2010 in the boardroom at Trump Tower, when he allegedly tried to kiss her without permission. The woman told Burnett, according to CNN, "Trump took Tic Tacs, suggested I take them also. He then leaned in, catching me off guard, and kissed me almost on lips. I was really freaked out. After the meeting, Trump asked me to come into his office alone. Was really unsure what to do. Figured I could handle myself. Anyway, once in his office he kept telling me how special I am and gave me his cell, asked me to call him. I ran the hell out of there." 2013, Miss USA contestant Cassandra Searles. Searles, who won Miss Washington in 2013, said Trump tried to seduce her, groped her, and treated the women in the pageant like cattle, according to Yahoo News. "Do y'all remember that one time we had to do our onstage introductions, but this one guy treated us like cattle and made us do it again because we didn't look him in the eyes," she wrote in June. "Do you also remember when he then proceeded to have us lined up so he could get a closer look at his property? Oh, I forgot to mention that guy will be in the running to become the next president of the United States." She then added, "He probably doesn't want me telling the story about that time he continually grabbed Maya and invited me to his hotel room.